Hey guys, this is Mark Havens. I'm principal founder of Dallas Makerspace, and with me I have Russell Crow, and not the actor, I assume. I'm sure you get that a lot. And so, Russell, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Russel Crow. I've been a member down there for about 3 years, and I love the place. I mean, it's a great atmosphere. But I think I'd like to provide some input for people who are going to vote in the upcoming board of directors election
Well, from what I
as
hear,
to a few issues. Yeah.
from what I hear, we already have like 20 something people that voted in the electronic proxy process online. So I don't remember how many people are registered to vote. There's close to 300. So what advice do you have for us, Russell?
Um, Say that again. I'm sorry.
What
Bring your
advice do you
question
have?
again.
Yeah, what advice
Oh,
do you
what
have for us
advice?
to? Yeah.
What advice? Um, Well, I'm not going to really advise anybody. I can give you a few parables, and then you can decipher them
Oh, that,
for yourself.
parables are even better. I love parables.
You grew up in the church, did you?
I
Anyway,
did. Yeah.
yeah. So, well, when I first got down there, we had a different cast of characters that
Hmm.
ran the infrastructure. There was this guy named Stan Simmons. It was always really helpful, and
Stan. Yeah.
there was Chris Anderson,
Hmm.
and I met her out in public. And she told me, you need to come back to the space because I hadn't been there for a few months. And I went, okay. And she walked up and gave me a big hug right there in the middle of Tanner Electronics. I went, all right, I'm heading over. And who else? Yeah, I could name some other names, but you get the general idea. They were very helpful people. They were very welcoming and open. And
I
I
don't
think
think.
that's a good thing.
I remember Chris was a bit of a hugger. Yeah. So it's.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it was just you.
No, it wasn't me. I'm certain of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
yeah, I was originally attracted to the place for a project that I had, and
Huh?
then that project blossomed into another project and then another project. And what I started noticing was that there are different personalities that work there, but something that people need to know when they first walk in is that there are a lot of people on the spectrum inside the space. And so you have to be careful how you address people
Yeah.
because these nerdy Asperger and Ott people um, are a little bit tender with their feelings, and that's okay. I can deal with that for their talent quotient because they are smart. My God, they're driven too.
Yeah. I've got a
And so,
son that. Well, I mean, potentially could be. I don't think he hasn't been tested yet, but the his teachers are mentioning that we should actually have been since kindergarten. Um, but yeah, no, I get it. Uh, the space is welcoming to all types, and we tend to tend to kind of find each other very easily when we're at the space, simply because we're I guess we're all attracted to the same kind of stuff. Same type of nerdy stuff.
well, that's the deal
Yeah.
with people like this. And if you check down the Nobel Prize list and the list of great inventors throughout the history of
Mm-hmm.
Western civilization, you will find a whole lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of goes with the territory. These
Mm-hmm.
creative, inventive, driven people tend to be on the spectrum. Some of them do. Most of them do, at any rate. So that's one of the first things I had to learn. One of the other things I had to learn is that there's a whole lot of political undercurrent there as well.
Oh,
I
you
was,
don't say.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And so you can either be tender with it,
Mm-hmm.
or you can actually voice an opinion. In the case where you voice an opinion,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be slammed into the ground because of
Potentially,
a
yeah, depending on
few,
who you talk to.
precisely.
Yeah.
And there's some people that are in control of certain infrastructure there
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that take a very harsh political opinion,
And
and they'll ignore.
even if you talk to the right person, there could be gossip that you have certain leanings, and that could really cause you to go, flow to one side or the other, depending on your opinion.
Oh yeah, well, to be clear, I've always believed that it takes all of us to make up this country.
Sure.
It takes far left, far right, middle of the road, all these people, and we decide this on election day.
Yeah.
But there has been a bend in the arc of reality over the last few decades where more and more I'm seeing that people of a certain persuasion are excluded, they're canceled, they're locked out of the discussion because of their political opinion. So there are a lot of people that don't believe this. You know, I've got a friend down at the Space, and I'm not going to name names, but he is diametrically opposed to me. But we've come to the conclusion that our discussions are beneficial to each other because not only do we get to hone our skills and our arguments, but also, ultimately, we're all going to show up on election day, and we're going to decide what happens next.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here at the Space, too.
Yeah.
You know? We have an election coming up, and there are people that want to silence other people. They want to create new rules to silence the membership. They want to enact policies which tend to slant their way in the long run. And that's just not right. That stifles creativity and it stifles the membership. And I don't have to remind you, the membership is way down right now.
Oh,
We
you don't have to remind me.
We probably need to take a different attitude if we want to bring people back into the space. And we do need people.
Oh, yeah.
We've got this huge expansion. We've got all these fabulous new facilities. But we're going to need people to actually feed the machine. And we need their creativity, and we need their collaboration as well.
Yep. Ideas, everything. It's not just their money.
Saying,
money's probably the least of our problems. We need people, ideas. You know, building out our community is not money. It's not stuff even. You know, it's us.
No, it's true. And we take on projects, and we do amazing things. I mean, some of the stuff that we do down there is world class. Other stuff is bordering on breakthrough. And I want to see more of it. I really do. You know? You know what I do down there?
Tell me.
I lead up the fusion project over in the science department.
Oh, no crap. That's you?
Yeah.
Man, I wanted to see that.
It's me and
a bunch of
a Russian and a nerd and a mathematician, a physicist.
I've been wanting to fool around with stuff like that for a long time. I just haven't got around to it. And I noticed I noticed a blog post about it, but I just I guess I never went into the science group. I know. I mean, I talk to people in science, but I guess I just never really discussed a lot of sciencey things. But
come on over on Sundays at 2:30 p.m.
Yeah.
We'll welcome you anytime. Wear your mask, obviously.
Yeah.
But we have some pretty good discussions, and we actually get something done. But that brings me to another subject. You know, when I originally went over to the science department, I'd seen them doing like DNA gleaning and typifying and that kind of stuff when they were just stuck in a corner. And then in the expansion, they got their own department. I got to be friends with a guy named Dr. David. At any rate, Dr. David was a driver. And he's since been expelled for life.
Oh,
we'll
David.
See about that later.
David Ratcliffe. David Ratcliffe, yeah. I've talked to David. I know David.
Anyway, so we were chatting one day, and he said, "You need to come join our fusion experiment." I went, "Why?" And he says, "Because you do laser plasma physics and stuff like that." I went, "Well, okay." And so he dragged me into it. And one of the things I noticed while we were building up the project and setting the parameters and the rules for it and the safety measures and everything else, I started getting feedback from people that were connected to the board of directors. And they started telling me things that clearly indicated they had no idea what was going on, but they were willing to enforce their will upon us. And one came up to me and he said, "What is that you're building?" I go, "It's a fusion reactor." He goes, "We know what it is. It's an X-ray machine." And I'm like,
"What?
You don't have a clue."
An X-ray machine? So, was he being serious?
Yeah. No, whenever you excite a plasma with high voltage,
I see.
It creates X-rays.
I got you.
And
okay. So it produces X radiation. Yeah.
It produces X-ray radiation. That's exactly right. When you get up around 10,000 volts, that's about the equivalent of a neon sign in a bar.
Yeah.
But we're not going to let that stop us. Let's just
Yeah.
go forward with this. So, yeah, and so he started threatening to shut down the project. I'm going, you don't have a clue. You're completely uneducated, but you're willing to exert force through the board of directors in order to achieve whatever weird endpoint that you've decided you need to be at, you know? And so we enacted safety procedures, which ensure us way up over 100,000 volts of X-ray radiation. And we did other things to ensure against explosion hazards, against exposure hazards, everything else. And we pretty much calmed it down by talking to the right people. But we shouldn't have to do this. We really shouldn't. I mean, if we're going forward with a project, we've enacted the proper safety protocols, and we've delineated precisely what we need, what we expect, what we're going to do. We shouldn't have to get beat on by people who know nothing about it but have overwhelming power over us, you know?
Well,
have I lost you?
No. I'm right on board there. I've heard these stories before. I mean, not in exactly the same way, but where there's a lot of oversight by the board, unsolicited oversight, and in the name of safety or policy or process or whatever. And I mean, to me, it seems like there's not a whole lot of concern for, the membership morale,
or facts,
or facts. I tend to focus on human element stuff, but yeah, facts too, I suppose.
Do you remember the alcohol rule?
Yes.
We were told that, oh my God, there are alcoholics back there, and they're operating dangerous machinery, and our insurance is going to get yanked, and the whole place will get closed down. Well,
so
none of that was true.
It was it was fiction. Okay, so I'll tell you right now, when dealing with the incumbents and some of the leadership, I guess the former leadership circles, there's a leadership community at Dallas Makerspace, and most of them are comprised of former board members, former chairs, or current chairs, whatever. Usually, people have been around a long time and have been in positions of leadership in the past, and or in collaboration with current leadership in some sort of informal advisory role, and so. One thing I've noticed when dealing with, my when running for board of directors in the last week, a little over a week it's been, I've already been I've received 3 formal complaints. I have a hearing tomorrow to determine whether or not they're valid complaints, and I submitted cause and rationale and defense or whatever just an hour or two ago, and yeah, it was really bizarre because every single point was an easily defeatable point. They were all low quality arguments. Low quality arguments seems to be like the.
Can you imagine that?
They're all it's an overwhelming avalanche of low quality arguments. In our philosophy group, we call this shotgun argumentation, where you basically
sinking.
The kitchen, right? Yeah. So you throw everything you can think of at the person and hope that they're completely overwhelmed and that something will stick, and it has a lot of effect on like a person's morale if you do it to somebody that's not really prepared or doesn't have experience with that type of methodology. It deflates people from moving forward. I think in Kevin Patel's case, because he was also what do you call it? He also got a formal
targeted.
complaint. Yeah,
He's been targeted.
he got a formal
Yeah.
complaint, and I believe the result of that was less engagement in his campaign. And I have talked to Kevin a little bit, but I don't know the outcome of
That's too bad
what's
because
happened.
Kevin's a good one. He's a sharp guy, and
Sure,
he's
but
very well-meaning, and
but
that counts to me a lot.
it is, and he's had a lot of demonstration of that over the last few months during coronavirus onset, and he did a lot of PPE work for Acme, and somehow that ended
Which
up
is
turning.
another thing, but we
Hmm.
won't go into that. I'll let you handle that in another thread. But
Okay.
the fact
No,
that they
that's.
closed us down completely against any PPE development, I mean, we're naturals. We're
Yeah.
absolute naturals.
I mean that I see that as a missed opportunity. But and it probably could have been an excellent opportunity if there was more allowance for engagement in the community. But I know Rafi. You know Rafi? I'm sure he runs around
Oh, I
in
know him
science.
well.
You know
Yeah.
him well. So I don't
And
know if you saw his video. And I've got a son over here that can't be quiet. Jack, I'm on a call right now.
how
Okay,
old
I
is
need to.
Jack?
He's 7 or 8. He's 8 now. All right, so
Drag him up to the space. Put a mask on
Jack, I don't need you arguing with
him.
me. I just need you to be quiet, please. Okay, then go sit down, please. Sorry about that.
No, you can deal with him. Go ahead.
Yeah, so
I
stuff
used to
like
run a Montessori school. I love children.
yeah, stuff like this might get edited out, but other than that, um, all right. So what was I saying?
Oh,
Uh,
you were talking. I'm sorry. You were talking about the opportunities that were
yeah,
afforded during the coronavirus epidemic.
yeah. So yeah, there were opportunities, and if we had civil engagement, I know Rafi made an attempt to engage the community, and he was a very valiant and persistent at trying to get people engaged on talk, and he was repeatedly shut down, and eventually he was banned from talk for trying to engage the community and creating PPE and opening the space for all sorts of for related projects, I suppose, but just having
He was
just having
he was
discussion.
canceled. He was canceled under the cancel culture.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah, the same thing happened to me.
hmm oh, what happened
I
to you? Tell me about that.
Well, I suggested that probably it was a bad idea to permanently ban the only medical doctor at the Makerspace during a pandemic when we could actually be making something to change the outcome in our own community. And I got banned. They told me I was becoming political
What's
on the
wrong with
talk
being What's
on
wrong
the
with being
talk board.
political? See
Well,
that's
see,
another
that's
thing. Being
yeah,
being political means at Dallas Makerspace means discussing policy and rules and
precisely.
all
Well,
the stuff that you know we've all participated in how Dallas Makerspace runs. That's our job as members. That's
yeah.
we I mean optionally we don't have to get involved in governance of Dallas Makerspace, but the governance of Dallas Makerspace is managed by volunteers. Okay,
Indeed.
and bringing in people that want to be voices, want to be heard in regards to policy and governance. Those, squashing those people are missed opportunities, even if they are even if they don't agree with you,
Precisely.
because you need that type of back and forth, and in order to really develop good ideas, challenge flaws and holes in those ideas, and when you don't, when everybody agrees, when you have group think and everybody's on, says the exact same thing, and there's no dissent, there's going to be low quality arguments all the time that everybody can see except for that group.
Yeah, it's like a hillbilly family tree. It goes straight up.
Sure.
It's like,
And this is
no,
this.
you're completely right. And the thing that makes us strong is our diversity. We have
Right.
a diversity of ideas. We have a
Hmm.
diversity of talents. We have a diversity of, and you can go down the road until finally you get down to race and creed. But it's the way that we think that's very important. It
Sure.
really is. Yeah.
Sure. No, it's true.
And when that's rooted out, when the way that we think is controlled by a few moderators on a talk board or by a few directors that have power over the rest, it's been ceded to them by the rest, by the way, and it's been handed over with extreme caution and with the codicil that you will behave yourself, and then they completely misbehave themselves. It's
Yeah.
not acceptable. It
No.
truly is not acceptable, and it flies in the face of essentially what we do as Americans. 'Cause
Sure.
we believe in this stuff. We believe in the smooth transition of power. We believe in the righteous administration of our rules with the power that we've given to the rulers, and they can be removed at any time. This is important to remember.
Well, I've noticed there's been attempts to make sure that incumbents can't be removed. I guess. I mean, my own experience in this campaign so far has been like the use of formal complaints and the threat of bans as a tool for intimidation. And
Yeah.
I mean that's actually it's really common in like the legal arena, like in tort cases it would be called abuse of process, where you use the law and you twist it in a way so that it punishes somebody that you don't like or whatever, and it could be it's possible to be sanctioned for abusing. Well, I mean that's exactly what it is. Somebody uses the law against you, you can sue them for abuse of process, and win a settlement or win a case or something like that, win money. And of course, in not civil law but criminal law, it's called malicious prosecution. And these two concepts are like actively they're a tool, like a tool in the tool belt of the leadership community here at Dallas Makerspace to use threats of ban and threats of formal complaints or formal complaints themselves in order to intimidate and control certain members who don't have the stomach for it or don't have the knowledge. And that's actually, I've noticed that's really common, keeping everything a secret so that whoever has the knowledge of the rules has the upper hand. Now fortunately, I do have some knowledge of the rules. I don't. I mean, I wrote the bylaws at the very least, and I'm not privy to like the manual that has been put together in the last year that has all of the other rules in it, like you must be loyal to Dallas Makerspace or something like that, and that's actually in there, I believe.
Yeah.
That all members have to demonstrate loyalty to Dallas Makerspace or something, but it all, I don't know, the
Isn't that from Catch-22, where the pilots had to start signing loyalty oaths before they could fly a mission to go risk their lives?
yeah, it
Yeah.
has a weird
Yeah, that's
interpretation.
Joseph Heller right there, man. That's Joseph Heller. if
Well,
ever
I
I've
mean,
heard it.
I never actually read the whole thing, but I've been given like summaries and stuff and clips.
Oh my
and
God!
things.
Watch the series. It's either Prime or Netflix.
What
I
what are
think
you
it's
referring
6
to?
or 8 parts. Catch-22.
Oh, Catch-22. What? Okay.
It's a great American classic. It's
Okay.
about a bomber pilot who flies his missions, and then they keep extending the number of missions to keep him there in theater.
Oh yeah.
And he's going nuts. He's cracking up, right? He's
I have seen
PTSD.
that. Yeah, it's been years, but yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of the things that Colonel
20 years ago.
Cathcart does is he makes everybody start signing loyalty oaths. And
Uh-huh.
it's not like it's strapping on a B-25 and flying against the Nazis is loyalty enough. You also
Yeah.
have to sign this document that says you're loyal too. Oh, okay. Well, now we know you're loyal. Oh my God.
Well, I mean, I don't know. There might be some sort of there is actually a kind of a psychological um, bent on signing a document. I mean, you don't want to betray. Most people don't want to go back on their promise. So
Yeah, no, it's further intimidation, though. In the
yeah,
Declaration of Independence, and in the Constitution, in the Bill of Rights,
yeah,
we're guaranteed certain rights, and they say they don't come from government; they come from God.
well,
And so
as
that
many,
concept is a powerful concept. It
yeah,
really is. That people have inalienable rights, and that we all come together for a common purpose, and that's what the makerspace is. We
well,
come together for a common purpose, but we have inalienable rights. And when a group decides, by whatever aegis, because they're OCD and they just have to make rules and enforce them on other people, it's some sort of psychological disorder, or for necessity, group necessity, they make up these rules, and they continually make up these rules, and they enact them upon the membership, and they see the membership keep dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. And it's like, at some point, it's not a zero-sum gain anymore. At some point, it's going to stop. The whole thing's going to collapse, and we can't have that.
well,
I think the greater purpose is served if we come together.
I've speculated that if all the people that show up to Dallas Makerspace stopped paying, there's probably enough people who just pay anyway. Probably forgot all about Dallas Makerspace. They just haven't looked at their bill in 4 or 5 years, and there's probably enough of those guys to keep the lights on indefinitely. And if you can run
You
off,
you wouldn't believe how many businesses in America operate by that philosophy.
I know a
Go
lot
ahead.
of I've tried to cancel my bill on a lot of shady companies like that where you can't figure out how to cancel and you have to go in and tell your credit card or PayPal or whatever to stop reoccurring the bill or something.
Yeah, no, you have to
It's a
appear
maze.
before they're bored under a full moon with the blood of a virgin on
There
your
was
forehead.
there
in
was
order
one.
to cancel the membership.
I remember there was one shady company that was it took me like 3 days to figure out how to cancel my reoccurring payments on it.
Oh
And
yeah, I believe it.
and then you get the weird ones where they make you pay by the year, and then you forget all about your reoccurring annual payment, and
Yeah.
it just pops up all of a sudden. And say, oh hey, look at that! I got a $300 reoccurring payment every year. I forgot. I wish I knew about that yesterday. you know,
Right.
but I have been successful in calling in and like reversing it or something like that. Sometimes when that's the case, but I don't think that's the way Dallas Makerspace is meant to do business. Although it's certainly useful in keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
In rendering Dallas Makerspace a box full of tools that nobody goes to, sort of defeats the purpose of having any value. What value does Dallas Makerspace have if it's just a warehouse full of stuff that nobody uses? And
I agree.
I mean, we don't. It just it might
No,
as
the value is in the collaboration. It's
sure.
the knowledge and the ability of other people to come along and say, "Yeah, I can help you out." And it's the volunteership of the people who actually go in there and do the stuff.
Yeah.
It's a spirit. It really is. It's a spirit.
The tools and the space that we're collaborating in is just facilitating our organization. You and me collaborating, people collaborating, coming up with ideas and inventing new things. The tools themselves are just stuff, and it seems like to me, and when we first started, we started with nothing, and we all brought stuff from home, or in one case, we had a guy who passed away, and his I guess whoever was executor of the will or whatever found out about this and decided to donate, all of his electronic stuff. And
Walter.
Roger, yeah,
Walter Anderson.
Walter's another one, yeah. But
He was a great maker. He really was. He had the spirit. He knew how to do it.
well, it had. I guess there's been more than one. But I'm talking about somebody in 2010.
Oh.
So yeah, this goes way back, and it was the first major. I think it was the first donation, first of any major donation anyway. And I recognize some of the stuff that we got out of that guy's house. It's still floating around the electronics lab to this day, and I recognize
that's the Walter Anderson Memorial Electronics Lab because he was a great one. It's named after him.
He was something else. Yeah, I saw the tape on there. We need to have something a little bit more permanent than the blue tape or whatever that's there now.
No, well, he's got a name tag on everything he donated, and
I did see
vast.
If
you get into vacuum tube technology, you will see Walter Anderson everywhere you go. That's how prevalent he was.
Yeah, I liked Walter.
He was a good teacher too. He really was.
I attended. I didn't attend very many of his classes, but I attended at least one or two. And yeah, he was good. I went to lunch with him a couple of times, and I apologized for all the horrible work I did to the bylaws, because he couldn't stop talking about how awful the bylaws were. Yeah. So no, he was something else. A lot of people miss Walter. I'm sure there's plenty of people that don't miss Walter, because he passed away in the middle of. I guess it was right before an election cycle. I can't remember, but yeah, I remember there was a lot. I remember what it was. He got banned from talk while he was in the hospital. Right before he passed.
Oh, gee, surprise!
Yeah,
he got banned from talk.
And they held an emergency meeting and allowed him access to talk so that he could say goodbye.
Yeah. So. Here, you can utter your last breath on Makerspace talk. Really?
So yeah, at the very least, our leadership community is, what's the word? Compassionate enough to allow people on their deathbed to say goodbye to their friends.
I wish I hadn't laughed during that because you're say it again. I want you to be able to put that into your tape.
No, it's all going in there.
Oh my God!
No, it's. I mean, it sounds bad, but it's. I mean, that's the leadership culture that's been cultivated, and that's the one thing I want. I mean, it's in my SOI. I'm going to change the leadership culture in this organization if I win, even if I'm just all by myself. Yeah, and I think
you also brought a viable team with you. I like the people that you chose as your running mates. And here's the thing that bugs me. I didn't see Luke on the official ballot that I received in the proxy form.
It's because he dropped out. He dropped out. Yeah.
He dropped out.
He dropped out. The pressure was too much.
He's brilliant. Why did he drop out?
I know he's brilliant, but it was too contentious. It was too much fighting. One of the incumbents was really going after everybody, and honestly,
gee, I can't imagine who.
Luke is a kind, passive guy, and he's not much of a fighter. Everybody loves Luke. I don't
now,
have.
Wait, didn't Luke build the server that everybody logs on to remote?
I wish no, that's Luke Olson. That's a different Luke.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, if it were Luke Olson, he wouldn't be dropping out. He'd be one of the guys fighting.
He'd be rigging the election, right?
I would. Well, he actually he was one of the people that filed a formal complaint against me because of Luke. He seriously when Luke dropped out, he said something about me not having permission to use his picture or whatever on the Blue Tape morebluetape.org site, and
Oh, good grief.
he even went on. Everybody kind of piled on that thread and asked him, well, you should file a formal complaint against Mark, or whoever was involved. And Luke said that, well, filing a formal complaint would be disingenuous if I did that, and it would be wrong because nobody forced Luke or any. I don't know what happened. There might have been some miscommunication or something like that. Somebody put Luke's face on the website next to Kevin, and I guess Kevin. It's possible that I guess we were looking at Kevin and Luke as like a package deal because they're buddies. So it's possible when Kevin signed off on joining our ragtag team, it's possible that somebody just threw Luke on there on that assumption. But no, Luke. Somebody called me. I think it was Kevin. Kevin called me and put me through to Luke. He put me on like a three-way call to Luke, and Luke said he wanted to drop out, and I persuaded him otherwise. I said, "Man, we're a team. You don't have to be on the front lines. That's our job. You can, we're all running for board, but not everybody has to play, has to have the same role. We don't all have to be quarterbacks or linesmen or what. We can't, I don't know anything about football, but I'm trying to make some sort of football analogy. But we don't have to be in the front lines taking all the arrows and the bullets and the grenades and all that stuff. There's plenty of people that can be in the background and work all of our stuff on the back end, and the same goes for being on the board. We're not going to be middle managers on the board. We're going to be executive leaders on the board, delegating out responsibility, and which is something that pretty much all past boards just failed to do in one way or another. And part of that is how we were born. We just didn't have, in the early days, we didn't have a whole lot of, and by early days I mean like 2010, 2011, we didn't have a whole, yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of selection when it came to leadership types of people. So we ended up making do with what we got, and that's where we get like some of our gracious young men and women from that era volunteered and ran for board and won, and they went through they went through multiple iterations of that, and for whatever reason, there wasn't a whole lot of I guess it's like over time, like a frog in water, and the boil, you don't realize
Yep.
what's happening, and you die. And when Dallas Makerspace year after year after year was growing, it sort of inched up on us, and we were looking around. It's like we're a big organization that's acting like a small organization, and there's plenty of ways to create a balanced organization. There's lots of freedom and flexibility, too much freedom and flexibility in the bylaws that really, and that's part of the problem. But there are plenty of things that you can do outside the bylaws, standing rules, and you see a lot of that shift, a lot of that change in this current board. There was a lot of structure changes. I think the biggest change was the use of officers in a way that replaced committee chairs in the past, especially for operations-related stuff like logistics and infrastructure, and I guess PR. But which can work if you do it right, but being a all community run organization, there's if you do that, you don't really I mean, unless you're paying somebody to be in that role, it's going to be very difficult to solicit volunteers when there's really, it's not really a community focused type of initiative. and it's I don't know, it's something that that probably needs to go back to the way it was, with maybe a little bit more structure. Like you could have somebody kind of managing and overseeing a infrastructure committee, for example, and then have a chair of the committee, but have a CTO too that does executive leadership type of stuff, making sure that the committee is operating properly, and not, the CTO wouldn't be doing the work. The CTO wouldn't be, climbing in the attic and running cable or fixing the computer or whatever. This wouldn't be our computer guy. We've got lots and lots and lots of computer guys. We don't need the CTO to be a computer guy. Preferably, we want a CTO to be a leader that has actual leadership skills and that can coordinate volunteers well, and that is respected, in the community, and not laughed at or not hated, or but respected. And if we put these people in the right, if we use the right tool for the right job, if we use the right person for the right role, we won't have these types of issues. But now we see. The one thing I saw, which was really awful, and just continually perpetuated, was people were put into roles, officer roles, and the officers were abusive to the membership, and the board wouldn't do anything about it, at least not to the satisfaction of the general membership. It was, and it perpetuated. It kept going, not just on talk.
And it trickled down. I'm telling you.
And it trickled down. So that's just it.
It trickled down. The management of the Dallas Makerspace does not trust the membership.
Right.
And this is a pervasion that has to stop, because, first of all, it's disingenuous. Second, it's deprecating. And third, I don't like it. I don't personally like it at all. I find it very distasteful that you've elevated yourself to a position of leadership, and then you start beating on the membership. It's like, no, you're there to serve the membership.
Right.
You're not there to beat the hell out of them, ban them for life, fine them, everything else. And sorry I jumped in. Go ahead with your rant.
Well, well, the thing is, even in the leadership community, there's an undercurrent of duplicitous. There's I've noticed, kind of like, I want to say there's a lot of it's a groupthink type of initiative, in which if people don't agree with you, you exclude them, and there's some attempt. And this,
it's the cancel culture.
Yeah, this happened, and it happened to Rafi, because Rafi would get on Discord and stuff like that. And he explained it. He explained it in the video, but he's explained it to me in person, or I guess over the phone. We haven't really talked about it in person because of COVID. But he experienced on talk kind of like this gradual. It wasn't even that gradual. It was like somebody made the decision that Rafi's the enemy, because he kept making arguments that were in support of that were not even in support of me. They were just, defeating arguments that were low quality, and he kept defeating arguments that are low quality. And honestly, that's one of the things I love about Rafi, is because he's bold enough to make or to challenge bad arguments, low quality arguments. And
he'll speak truth to power.
Sure.
The guy is unafraid to do that, and I appreciate that in him.
And everybody, even the other side here, the current incumbents, and the officers, they all respect Rafi's intelligence. But as soon as Rafi started making really, smart arguments that were challenging their group think, their solution wasn't to change their minds. Their solution wasn't to entertain his good ideas, their solution was to maintain their decision to prefer whatever they were protecting, whatever ideals they were protecting, or whatever agendas they were protecting. And in
Yeah.
a lot of cases, that's ego driven. That's a desire for notoriety, maybe desire for an elevation in their career. Um, and I mean, everybody has their own ideas about that. But at the same time, I mean, there's nothing wrong with using a nonprofit on your resume. I use a nonprofit on my resume, Dallas Makerspace. It's under nonprofit, you know. Um,
Yeah.
but if your motivation is like exclusive to that, and you don't have a desire to help community, you become kind of like become sort of like a conflict of interest, where your decisions, the decisions that you make, are out of balance with like the intent of the organization. So if if your goal is to help yourself and not help others, and that's exclusive, you're gonna hurt others in order to help yourself at some point, and it might not be obvious. It might be a rationalization, and that's an interesting thing when you're really smart. And we have a lot of smart people at Dallas Makerspace. In case you didn't notice, one of one of the things that smart people do, especially smart people with low emotional intelligence, is that they use rationalization. They use their minds to come up with reasons why they want something, or why something should be done a certain way, or whatever. And this is real common in psychology. We make a decision first. Everybody does this. This isn't this. I mean, normally when someone makes a decision, they decide first, and then they come up with the reasons later. So, and that's because you want something. Your feelings, your id wants what they want. Your child, mind wants what they want. There's no reason behind it. You just want what you want. But your logical brain, okay, especially if you're a genius, can come up with any reason in the world why he or she needs to get what they want. And those rationalizations kind of bubble to the surface and become the cause of what we do and how we do it. When it's not the reason at all. We want what we want because we want what we want, and it's not a rational reason.
That's an interesting point you come up with. You talk about emotional maturity and the membership of the Makerspace, and it's important to remember that the Makerspace has a whole lot of aughts, a whole lot of people on the spectrum, and the general rule of thumb is that people on the spectrum are 1/3 of their life age behind emotionally people who aren't on the spectrum. And so if there's a 21-year-old at the space with Asperger's, they may be brilliant with electronics and robotics and machinery and microcomputers, but they're emotionally only matured to the age of a 14-year-old. And so you talk about this thing where you decide way ahead of time what you want, but later you rationalize the reasons why you want it. Well, not everybody's like that. But in people that are on the spectrum, yes, a lot of that happens. And so a 30-year-old has the emotional maturity of a 20-year-old. A 40-year-old has the emotional maturity of somebody who's 27. And this is a well-known fact. I mean, it's an absolute rule of thumb for people that work in OCD and, ADD and autism of all levels. The specialists in the field, they understand this. And so they know how to deal with somebody at that level. But I digress. Here, I wanted to get in on the Rules Committee changes for this upcoming election, and I wanted to voice a few opinions, if that's okay with you.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, here we go. So, Put on reading glasses. I am an old fart.
I'm,
I
I'm
made
getting
a
there
few
myself.
notes.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you have a copy of it in front of you?
Copy of your notes?
No, a copy of the rules changes. They
Oh
sent
no,
it to you in a proxy form.
yeah, actually, I've got it right here.
Okay, here we
Let's
go.
take a look at them.
They've got 13 rules changes coming up.
Okay.
Rules are things that the board can't change. They need the accession of the membership.
Mm-hmm.
They need the positive quorum vote. And I noticed that lowered that to 1/3. Classically, a quorum is a majority of the voting members. And
Well,
so it's really
I
not
didn't
legal
realize
to
it
change
was.
that term to 1/3. That's bunk, but we'll get to that. At any rate, number one, prohibit felons from serving as directors and officers. Nah, that shouldn't be a rule. I think that you can use that against somebody who's running against you on the board. Publish it. Make it a great big headliner. But
Nope.
no, that's not an official rule because we don't know what happened. We don't know how long it's been. We don't care. Okay, number two is
Well, hold on,
officer
hold on.
terms.
Before you go on, I want to go ahead and address this right now.
Okay, do it.
That issue that issue was proposed by Andrew Lakoti. Now, Andrew Lakoti has a pending complaint against me, formal complaint against me, and recommending me to be banned for life um, for a variety of low quality argument reasons. And
Now, wait a second. Wasn't Andrew Lakoti banned for life?
he was banned for 9
And
months.
he's come back. He's come back from being banned from life, and now he's banning other people for life.
Well, on top of that, in
That's
2000,
rich. That is so rich. It's deliciously rich. But I'll let you go. Go ahead.
No, he's been upset with me for one reason or another, or since 2014. But in 2016, he orchestrated this. He orchestrated me getting banned, and succeeded. By he stood up in front of my peers and friends and an uninformed board and advised them that I should be banned for life for all of these minor things that nobody. I can't read something about me bringing a dog in once, and there was stuff that happened years prior. There was stuff that was like from 2011 that he was listing off, and just in this formal complaint, he was listing stuff off from 2014. So he doesn't have a whole lot to work with, but he's been really trying hard to make me go away one way or another. He also claims that I didn't mentor him. And I didn't mentor.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
you have a fiduciary responsibility to Andrew Lakoti, right?
He claims I didn't mentor him. That I'm not a principal founder of Dallas Makerspace. He claims that I didn't mentor Robert Davidson, and that Robert Davidson said
Who is Robert Davidson? Do I know him?
Robert Davidson was. I helped him get on the board. In 2012, I think, and
Okay.
And we were pretty tied up until he voted to have me banned for 9 months in 2016 in complicit action with the 2016 board, including Luke Olson, who also filed a formal complaint against me just a couple of days ago. Who I mentioned earlier, I think, and then. Who else? And of course, there's James Hendrickson that filed a formal complaint for harassment, because for my videos, and he's I mean, that's just how effective we are when we're looking at each other face to face. Okay, I could have typed the same stuff in the channel, and I just would have gotten a whole bunch of arguments. People would have insulted me, probably told me to go away, belittled me, that kind of stuff. And it happens every time I type into that channel. But as soon as I put a link to a video where all forms of communication, the body language communication, the eye contact, the tonality of voice, everything, all of this multi-channel communication. It's actually what I research is multi-channel communication, right? Or at least part of what I research is multi-channel communication. It's not just words, okay? Words apparently when you're on like something like Discord or Talk, words don't really carry a lot of weight. You know what carries a lot of weight? Face-to-face time with people, talking with people one-on-one. That carries a lot of weight. Okay, because yeah, sure, because emotions get sent, the feelings get sent, everything it's very impactful. And I mean, if I had, like I told you, if I just used those same words that I used in the channel, it wouldn't have happened. It would have been no effect. Okay, but I'm a YouTuber now, and I like it's easier for me to create a video than it is to type a paragraph, right? So or whatever. I'd much rather spend 10 minutes talking than spending 3 hours typing the same stuff and making it sound read well, because I'm a writer. I'm a writer too, professionally, and it seems like I'm a professional lots of things, but but what was I saying? I just lost my train of thought. Where was I?
You were talking about a YouTube video.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I'm a YouTuber. I'm a
Far
YouTuber
more
now.
liable to create a YouTube.
Right. And because I'm a YouTuber now, and I'm using YouTube to disseminate my ideas throughout our community, all of a sudden I'm people are actually listening to what I say now, and I mean that really wasn't happening before. People I don't know are contacting me now. It seems like it's changed. The ideas that Blue Tape has had, I guess, I think is really having some sort of impact, and that's good. That's good because what we want is we want to fix the community. We want to change the way we talk to each other. We want to help innovate again, help each other innovate. We want to innovate ourselves. We can be rock stars in this era, in this COVID era right now. We can be famous as a space if we start working together, if we want to. Okay?
Oh, I believe we need to come together. Yeah. Can we get back to the rules changes?
Yeah, sure. I just
that they've enacted. Are you taking notes? Because I've got some interesting notes. I don't know if you agree with them, but
actually, I think I went down a rabbit hole. I was going to talk about the actual what do you call it? The first, I can't even find it now. The first bylaw change.
The first bylaw change has to do with
Andrew
prohibiting felons as serving as directors and officers. And,
let me focus.
I said, essentially, if you're running against a felon for the board of directors, go ahead.
Right.
Fucking dock them to the wall. I don't care.
So
if the people think, if the membership thinks that that's important, then don't vote for it. But
so let me focus.
To sit there and prohibit people is not a matter of a fraternal organization. That's a matter of the law and guns and voting and on and on.
So let me read the actual what it says here. Okay. So Section 2.1, Board of Directors. The board shall consist of 5 elected persons who, 1, are members in good standing, 2, have the age of majority in Texas, and 3, have not been convicted of or pled guilty or no contest to any felonies in the past 5 years. Now,
25 years.
25 years. Now,
Yeah.
I became aware of this proposal in January because Mr. Andrew Lakoti contacted me for the first time in years and told me about this change, or told me that there was a proposal for a change and that Eric was working on changes. And I took a look at it, and right away I knew that Mr. Andrew Lakoti, obviously went and did a background check on me because I have not a conviction.
Yeah.
Right?
The stories prevail. It
Right.
doesn't matter. I don't care.
I know. I understand. But he. It'd be one thing if it was convicted felons, but he drafted this for my benefit. He drafted this so that I would be excluded from leadership at some point, and
Oh, I understand.
it
I
was
understand.
it was
And
black
you
and
don't have to
white.
explain it to me any further because I understand that this is a political exclusion and it's being used as a political cudgel.
Well, I mean, not
On to
only
number
sure,
on to
okay, number
number
two.
two. Number two, officer terms.
Hmm.
The annual meeting of the Board of Directors shall occur in the month of June at a place and time set by resolution of the Board of Directors. Well, actually, this is expired, so that rule is dead in the water. Screw it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Article Section 3.3, officer terms. The next annual meeting of the Board of Directors. Yeah, officers shall hold office until the sooner of the next annual meeting of the Board of Directors, the position is resigned, or the officer is dismissed by the Board of Directors. That hasn't occurred either, because, again, we've elapsed past the meeting in June, and the annual appointment of the Board of Directors is self-regulated, and so that's null and void.
No.
So number 2, number 3.3 are dead. Officer definitions. Down at the bottom, section 314, the PI section. The Board of Directors may appoint by resolution any number of other officers deemed necessary to conduct the business and affairs of the corporation. No. Officers are regulated by the rules. They are not regulated by the Board of Directors. That is complete and utter crap. And they're trying to usurp power again. It's ridiculous. Do not give it to them. We go on to Article 3, officers, officer titles. The Board of Directors may rename the position held by any other officer. No. That's
All right, so
only by the Rules Committee.
I want
This
to.
is not by the Board of Directors. This is by the Rules Committee.
So
You
Russell,
can't go and rename officers of the corporation just because the board says so.
Russell, I
It
want to
requires
point.
the agreement of the whole company.
I do want to point something out, Russell. That
Yes.
the things that the thing like the section 1 that you're reading there, that's a section that's already in place. So there's like underlinings, which is inclusions, like new pieces of the document, and then there's crossing out of stuff, which is deleted. And
So Section 1 prohibits felons from serving as directors and officers.
section
The
section 1.
duties
Okay, so
performed by officers will be determined by the Board of Directors, not the rules.
which section are you looking at again?
You just said Section 1, and you just said that's already been approved.
Oh, I guess I was looking at section 311 or 321. Article 3, section 3.2, 1. The Board of Directors may rename the position held by any other officer. That's already in place.
Yeah, that's too bad, because that should have been underneath the rules. That should have never been given to the Board of Directors. Okay, so we go on to number 4, officers suspend, right?
Okay, these are all
Member
new.
may be temporarily suspended from membership of the corporation by an officer via procedures established by the Board of Directors. Any person suspended from the corporation shall forfeit any and all dues already paid. All rights of a member in the corporation shall cease for the duration of suspension. This is a sticky point, because usually what the Board of Directors do is they get a committee to go suspend somebody.
Yep.
And during that committee suspension, or shortly after the committee suspension, then the Board of Directors will suspend. And so they always lead with the committee to change the perspective that it was the board that actually did it, when in fact it was at the board's directive.
Right.
I have direct witnesses to that fact,
Mm-hmm.
and it is total horseshit. I saw a member suspended by the committee for a month, and he went, "Okay, so I'll stay out for a month." There were no reparations. There was no remediation. There was no remedy whatsoever. This person stayed out for a month, and they immediately came up before the board, and they were suspended for life. They were canceled for life. It's the cancel culture. I'm tired of this bullshit. You know,
I don't know.
say
Seems like I get used to it.
If a committee suspends, the board must wait
Mm-hmm.
to see what the conditions are met by the member.
Well, Russell, I'm going to try to cure the cancer that's been plaguing us for the last 6 years or so, if I can.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Because it's, there's no heart in it anymore. The soul's gone, or at least half dead or something. We still have, Dallas Makerspace still has soul. We're here. We got spirit. We're just, we're just demoralized. You know?
We're intractably engaged in the rules, you know, and it's disgusting to me. I'm not going to go on with you because I can tell you're done, but you know that I have objections to these 13 rules that these geniuses have come up with, and I won't vote for any of them. I think
me neither.
Insane, you know, and I'm going to go out and actively campaign for you.
Well, I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
We can join the team.
Absolutely. I want you to know that I'm also engaged in a congressional campaign, a senatorial campaign.
Yeah.
Fuck. My God, what else? Oh, wait. 2 congressional campaigns. And so, yeah, I do real life politics. I don't just do makerspace politics.
Yeah. I don't know. When I first thought, I did not want to do this. Have you
ever been to a political convention? A real live political convention.
Honestly, I completely tuned out years ago when it comes to politics. So I'm not engaged in U.S. politics at all. So,
I have.
Yeah.
It's not pretty. It's like watching the sausage being made. I was at the Republican convention in 2016 down in Dallas, Texas, where they attempted to secede from the Union. It was insane. There were all these armed guys. They had 45s on their hips, and they were putting proposals before the committees and before the General Assembly. And they were getting their proposals recognized because they had really good lawyers working for them.
Yep.
And every one of their proposals was undeniable. And so they backed the parliamentarian of the convention into such a corner that he had to call his professor from college down to the floor of the convention to back him out of it. It took 2.5 hours, and it made national news. It was like Texas attempts to secede from the Union, right?
Makes good. I guess it makes good TV, doesn't it?
I got to see that. I got to witness it. I got to vote on it. It was pretty cool. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, you got anything else you want to talk about? I can't see. We've been going
I think we're pretty much chewed the fat
Oh yeah,
out.
we've gone over an hour. I'm trying to keep everything under an hour if I can. It's an hour 8 right now, so I've actually got another call to take. So
Okay,
you have any
tell you
closing
what,
points
Mark,
you want to talk about?
No, you call me up if there's anything you need, and
Okay.
I'll attempt to continue to promote your candidacy because I think you're a good guy.
Well, I appreciate that.
I think you have the best intentions for the space, which I do as well.
I appreciate that. Would you mind coming on again and talking? Record a call or something like that. So yeah, no, I've got a lot of people to talk to, but no, it's been fun talking to you. So, and I know you probably have a lot to say. You said you got some other rabbit holes you want to explore, and I'd like to explore them with you. So.
Oh yeah.
All right. Russell, it's been good talking to you, and I'm just going to say like, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you later, Russell. All right.
Take care and God bless, Mark.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.